Welcome to the very first episode of FTBL Culture. I'm your host, CultureCams, and this is the show where I dribble past the tired football narratives to give you the real, hard-hitting truths and can't-miss views on today's game. I have got my very own show. Me, CultureCams. Anyone that's been watching my content previously, and for the newcomers, you're gonna get hard-hitting truths. You're gonna get the real from me. As always, people have put money behind the machine. Huge trouble. But coming up on the very first episode of FTBL Culture, I have got Fabrizio Romano in the booth. Like I said, how many people can start a show with Fabrizio Romano? Mr. Here We Go himself. That is the type of content I'm going to be providing. Also, the Premier League's best from match day 4, the creme de la prem. But first, how every show kicks off, a 100% pure breakdown of a trending topic. It's time for Just My View. So, listen, there's been so much that's been going on in the Premier League this season. I feel like everybody is absolutely locked in this season. Like, it's been the most high intensity, high pressure start to a season I have seen in so long. I'm not sure if it's because maybe the World Cup is coming and everyone's in World Cup mode, similar to how LeBron said he has to activate playoff mode a bit early. I kind of feel like everyone is in that kind of spirit at the moment, and it's actually given us an unbelievable spectacle at the moment. We know Liverpool just won 9-0. Commiserations to Bournemouth and Scotty Parker. Can the board please go and help that man? Because Bournemouth are absolutely drowning at the moment. But they have got 3 points. And I wonder what manager it was that got them that 3 points. Steven Gerrard. But I'm not going to go into that. That's probably going to be a whole nother segment one day. Because there's a lot of talk about all these other managers, but nobody wants to talk about the English media darling that is Steven Gerrard. But we'll talk about that, as I said, another day. Listen, the Premier League at the moment for me is in such an interesting state. For all my anime fans out there, I compare the English game to Dragon Ball, the Dragon Ball series. Listen, hear me out for a sec, hear me out. The Premier League started as the Carling Premiership. That was the Dragon Ball phase. Remember Baby Goku? Remember when he was little and he was fighting the Red Ribbon Army? You remember that? That was the Carling Premiership. That's when Cantona and all them man were running around. It was interesting, but it hadn't really hit the heights. You know, Italy were dominating the Serie A with R9 and all them man. The Premier League wasn't ready yet. Then you got the Barclays Premier League. That was Showtime. That was Dragon Ball Z. That's when man were turning Super Saiyan. Thierry Henry was dropping 30 goals in the league. Invincible seasons. Ruud van Nistelrooy, Rooney, so many, Cristiano Ronaldo, so many stars. That is when the Premier League then became the global watch that we know today. Just like Dragon Ball Z. I mean, if you talk about the Dragon Ball series and you don't say Dragon Ball Z first, then you're overdoing it. Let me tell you that. Let me just tell you that for free. Then we move on to the English Premier League, which we are in right now. That's Dragon Ball GT. That's the phase where it's like, okay, it's getting a little bit out of hand now. Money's being thrown around. Salah's dropping 32 Premier League goals. Man, everyone is just eating. Like, Lukaku's getting 25 in the league. It's starting to get a little bit out of hand. It's a goal and assist era. Some people ain't really feeling it. GT was very up and down. I personally didn't like it, especially when Android 17 came back and he started. Anyway, listen, for my anime fans, you know what I'm talking about. And now we are reaching the stage of DBS, which is Dragon Ball Super. We are now in the Premier League Super phase where, listen, money compared to all the other leagues in world football, it is gone ridiculous in the Premier League. The figures that are getting thrown at this league is unbelievable. And now we are in that super phase. We are in the English Super League. The POS is what I'm going to call it. The Super League, which Florentino Perez is adamant to still get going, because I feel like he sees the emergence of the Premier League getting stronger financially, stronger on the playing field. And it's getting to a stage now where you have Nottingham Forest signing £45 million players. They have signed 19 players this window. 19! Like, actually think about that. That's a whole new squad. I feel sorry for the dinner ladies. That's the ones that I really feel sorry for. I mean, how many new meals are they going to have to cook up? You got my man over here telling me I want pasta linguine. I got my man here saying I like chips. I feel sorry for the dinner ladies there, honestly. But it just goes to show at the moment the money that's being invested in the Premier League, of course, through viewership, of course, through just general interest into the Premier League, is so much at the moment. I just mentioned Nottingham Forest, but I said the 19 signings. Some of the players that they've signed: Morgan Gibbs-White, they're linked with Lingard, Jesse Lingard, Manchester United FA Cup winner, Dennis from Watford, who I think could have even went to a higher level, linked with Ronan Lodi, straight from Atletico Madrid. What other league do you see a player go from title contenders to relegation battlers? You just don't see it. Imagine a player now leaving Liverpool. Imagine Robertson getting up one day and saying, do you know what? I just want to go and play for Getafe. You're just not going to see it. But that is the money and the strength of the Premier League at the moment. Let's move away from the top four, the media's top four. And you look at, the teams from 7th to 20th. I think the quality disparity is getting closer. It is getting closer. When you look that you got players like Maddison at Leicester. Okay, Fofana's just about to go to Chelsea. But you got Bruno G at Newcastle. Isak just signed. You've got Zaha at Crystal Palace. Eze. There's so many players now, I feel, that can go and play for the top 6, top 4 clubs. Whereas in the past, you've got to be unbelievable to play for one of the top 4 clubs, or they'll just go and get one of the best foreigners out there. So to try and get somebody now, I think you got, as I mentioned, you got so many players in the lower half of the league that can go straight into the top 4, in my opinion. Top 4. You look at Cucurella. He just went from Brighton, who were competing around 11th, 10th, and he's now starting left back at Chelsea. You don't really used to get that too much back in the day, and I think that is down to the money that is being put into the game. Everyone wants to come and play in this league, and it is, for me, the best league in the world. And guys, that's just my view. As promised, I told you guys, on FTBL Culture, we only come with bangers. I am here with Mr. Here We Go himself, Fabrizio Romano. Bro, how are you today?
Hello, my friend. All good, all good. Thank you for the invitation. It's a big pleasure to be here.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming on. I know it must be such a busy period for you, especially as the transfer window is coming to a close. I mean, just a quick one. Is this your favorite time of the year?
Yes, honestly, yes. Not this week, because this week is crazy. This week is completely crazy. It's insane. I have to stay on my phone 20 hours per day. But transfer window, yes. Transfer window in general, yes. For example, I love June, July, when you don't know the transfers and you have to find the real targets of the top clubs. Is something that I really love. It's kind of detective work, and I love it. Now it's more like following the final steps of the big deals. But I love the opening part of the transfer window. So I love it. It's crazy, but I love it.
I mean, I was going through your tweets and I see you tweet at 3 a.m., 4 a.m. Do you sleep? I mean, when do you have a chance to sleep?
But I sleep like 2 hours from 4 to 6, then 2 hours from 8 to 9:30. You know, it's like this. I'm used to sleep in crazy moments. During the final weeks of the transfer window is like this. Then, honestly, for example, in June, in July, it's completely different. The weekend is more relaxed. Also now, when there are the games in August, it's more relaxed during the weekend. But then during the week, I can't sleep. I can't sleep because I want to control everything. I want to be on phone, to call people, to send messages, and to be on point always.
Has there ever been a moment when you were sleeping and something mad happened? Like there was a
Yes.
mad exclusive and you're catching Z's.
It happened. It happened when Thomas Tuchel was fired by Paris Saint-Germain.
Damn.
I still remember that they decided to fire him. It was like December or January. I was at home in Naples with my family, and I was relaxing with my family. I was sleeping, and so I checked the phone and I had the news, and I was like shocked. So it happens. It happens. Sometimes it happens. Not during the window, but in like December, November. You know, when you feel okay, I can be relaxed.
Yeah.
Something out of nowhere is happening, and you have to be ready.
In those moments, are you like, when those exclusives comes and like somebody else reports it first, are you kind of, you got that competition in your belly? You want to get that first, innit?
Yes, it's obvious. I always try to be first because it's part of my job. When you're a journalist and working on transfers, you always try to have the scoop. But at the same point, I'm not desperate with it, honestly. I try to do it, but when it's not possible, it's also a pleasure to mention other sources. It's impossible to be first on all the leagues, all the players, all the transfers. So I try, but sometimes it happens. Sometimes also happens that you know something and source is asking you to wait a bit because they want to protect the deal, and then the news is coming out on some other outlet or journalist, and so it's a problem. But it's part of my game. I'm always respectful with my sources because it's the most important thing.
Yeah, for sure. Listen, talking about, getting things first. This transfer window, of course, has been, as Man United always are, they're always involved in the transfer window. It's always big news. That Antony interview that you got, that exclusive, how did that come about? Because, I mean, that was beyond sources now. You're going right to the plug. I mean, what's that about? How did that come around?
Yes, that's been crazy. Honestly, I'm never thinking on what I do on my job because I think a journalist is never the key part of any story. Is always telling the story, but not part of the story. But in that case, I'm really proud because I know Antony and his camp since he was at Sao Paulo, since he was in Brazil. So it's part of my story because I was following him when he was in Brazil, and I love to watch South American football, some young talents around. It's always part of my passions in football. And so this is how I built the relationship. And then it happened that during the negotiation, they had like 2-3 difficult days, but really difficult with Ajax, were not intention to open any negotiation to discuss about the price, despite two important proposals by Man United. It was 80 million euros last week, 90 million euros right after. And so they were like desperate to send a message in public. They decided to do it with me. So I'm really happy, but it's always about being respectful with what the player wants. So he just wanted to say the world situation, the picture about his future. And I'm happy if at the end it will be, as it seems, completed. So it's done now, but I always wait for the players to sign the contracts. But it was a very good one, honestly.
So now that the here we go has been confirmed, has he dropped you a little text like, thanks, mate? You know what I mean? Thanks for helping me with that one. Has he contacted you since then?
No. I don't have any message after the here we go. I think it's always like this. His agent was posting on Instagram yesterday night, here we go, on his Instagram account. So I was pretty happy with that. But now let's wait for the official statement, and then I think Antony will celebrate.
When you were having that discussion with Antony, of course you knew that is going to break the internet, and that went absolutely crazy. Did you at any point think that you might kind of, your relationship with Ajax at all, like, do you ever think about that side of things? Maybe it could have damaged that a little bit?
Honestly, yes, I was thinking about it because for me, being respectful, trust me, not just in football with players or clubs, but in everything in life is the most important thing. So yes, I was thinking about it and about the problem for Ajax. But at the other point, I was thinking, if he's not going to do it with me, it's going to be on a Brazilian paper, or Dutch paper, on an English paper,
grab it first,
social media. Yes, exactly. It's going to happen because he wants to speak. He wants to say something. And so I was thinking, okay, I'm sorry, but it's not my decision. It's not me calling Antony and say, let's make an interview. It was on player side. They want to send a message. So this is why I accepted at the end.
Nice, man. It's good. I'm a United fan, so it's nice to hear a player actually wants to be at the club. And you're talking about players that don't want to be at the club. There was this whole massive saga of Frenkie De Jong. I know you've probably spoken about that so much, but I've got just a specific question in regards to that one. There's been so much talk about deferred wages and this and that, but did he just categorically not want to join Manchester United?
But it's not just with Man United. I like to clarify about that. I'm happy with your question because Frenkie De Jong, he wants to stay at Barcelona. Trust me, that Chelsea too have made an important proposal, and Chelsea play Champions League football. And also last week, Chelsea were insisting. Man United are insisting since end of May. But really, many clubs approached Barcelona for Frenkie De Jong, and they are open to letting go. It's not that Frenkie is rejecting Manchester United; it's that he doesn't want to leave Barcelona. Why? From what I'm told, Frenkie, first point, loves the city. Then we know the Dutch connection with Barcelona. Barcelona is always something special for Dutch players. And let's remind that Frenkie accepted to join Barcelona in difficult years because he joined Barca when it was not that kind of team. Now the team is fantastic, but he accepted to go there when the team was a normal one, not a great one. And now after complicated years at Barca, he really wants to play in this team that he feels can win important things because the team is fantastic, the squad is fantastic. So this is why Frenkie is not rejecting Man United. Frenkie is determined on staying at Barcelona. This is the reality. So it's true that Man United are insisting, but the reality is that Frenkie wants to stay. That's it.
Fair enough. You can't do nothing if somebody like that wants to stay put. In terms of the midfielders, though, for United, just to wrap up on United, I know they're still interested in Gakpo, which you've mentioned a few times. Are United actually in for any other centre midfielders? Is there a short list maybe, or was it Frenkie or bust?
No, at the moment, the situation is pretty clear. They wanted Frenkie as priority, and then they decided to spend big money on Casemiro because it was a big opportunity. So I think they will only go for another midfielder in case they have a huge opportunity in the final hours or days in the market. At the moment, it's still quiet. They're focusing on the second goalkeeper, maybe on some opportunities on the right back. But the priority was Antony and before Casemiro. So for the midfielder, I think it depends on the opportunities. For example, a player they love is Moises Caicedo from Brighton, very good player, not a playmaker. But now with Casemiro, I think kind of defensive midfielder, they already got one of the best in the world, like the Brazilian. And so if they can find a creative midfielder with a good opportunity, it could be the case. But as of now, everything is focused on Antony to be signed and then on the second goalkeeper.
So there's not really much going on with the Gakpo links, or...
No, with Gakpo is something that they were discussing with the agents because the agents are the same agents of Erik ten Hag, so they have very good relationship.
Nice.
Erik ten Hag knows the player so well because in Eredivisie is one of the best talents. But it was something to be prepared in case the Antony deal was not going through. But now with Antony done, I think for Gakpo, is no longer a priority for Man United. Could be an opportunity, but not a priority. So as of now, no bid to PSV and still an open situation.
And just with other clubs, just to get on the club, I saw you actually tweeted on Monday. You tweeted about Daniel James to Spurs. What is the talk on that one? Because I mean, Daniel James, he divides opinion, as United fan, we don't, he didn't have the greatest time here, and Spurs fans have reacted to that news a little bit negatively. What is going on there? Is Conte a big fan?
It's Conte, yes, appreciating the player, and Fabio Paratici, the director at Tottenham, knows the player so well. But the real problem is that Leeds want to keep him. Leeds are really happy with him. They want to keep him. They want to keep the whole squad. They had a fantastic beginning of the season. They are really happy with the impact of Jesse Marsch. And so it's not an easy deal. It's true that Tottenham approached Leeds. It was Thursday, Friday last week for a loan with buy option. Why? Because they are selling Bryan Gil to Valencia. Sorry, not selling, but loaning out because it's going to be a loan deal till June 2023. So everything is ready for Bryan Gil to Valencia, but they need the replacement. Daniel James is one of the options. But as of now, I'm told that Leeds have no intention to accept a loan with buy option for Dan James. So I think it's a complicated one, honestly.
Okay, and fair enough. And then, of course, there's Liverpool. Jurgen Klopp, he's recently said, it was my mistake. I'm wrong. I need a midfielder. We all know about those quotes. Liverpool fans have been talking about Frenkie. They've been talking about Barella. They're talking about Caicedo as well. And there was also Sander Berge. Do you know anything about who the centre midfielders are on Liverpool's shortlist and who they might go in for in the last couple of days?
I think more than a short list, they want to find the right opportunity and jump into it as soon as possible, as they always do. This is how they work at Liverpool. So Barella, impossible. Frenkie, impossible. It's going to be really difficult to sign that kind of players, honestly. But also Caicedo is not easy to negotiate with Brighton. We saw with Cucurella how tough they are in the negotiation. So I think for Caicedo in the final days of the window, it's going to be difficult. So if they can find an opportunity, they will jump into it. But I'm told not something super expensive, not something for 80, 90 million euros or pounds. So So at the moment, it's still something that they are exploring. For example, Konrad Leimer from Leipzig is a player they appreciate, but Leipzig have no intention to let him go in the final days of the window, because we know how German clubs, how they are serious on this kind of things. They want to keep the squad at the end of the market. And so it's not going to be an easy one, but I'm sure that Liverpool are exploring some secret options maybe.
You've given us this transfer window, you've given us an amazing quote, which was, "We will see who's a liar." Yeah, and that was your clap back to Brighton, I believe. You know, in these situations, of course, you want to be first to things, and you are often always on the money. How do you feel that, like, you know, people on Twitter and people try and kind of accuse you? They call you a tap-in merchant. They say, you know, you're at the back post like Inzaghi and just tap in goals or whatever. How do you feel about that? Because Fabrizio, I know you know about that, because I see you clap back at these people.
Of course.
How do you feel about that?
I know. I think sometimes it's funny to see how people, you know, without a face, without a name, are criticizing you. And sometimes I text them in private. I say, "Why are you saying that? Explain me. Maybe you don't like me. It's fine. No problem at all." As Mourinho said, even Jesus Christ was not appreciated by everyone. So it's normal to have some haters around. And they always say, "No, Fabrizio, sorry. I'm really sorry. I was just joking." So, you know, I think this is part of Twitter, especially because, for example, on other social media platforms, it's not like that. On Twitch, on Instagram, it's not like that. On Twitter, there is this kind of people that they like to joke on your work, on your on your things. But I think it's something normal. Now I'm accepting this. I'm having fun with them in private sometimes, and that's it. But I'm not having any problem. I know how much I'm working. I know that I'm working 20 hours per day on the news. And so I don't need anyone to tell me what is good or what is not good. If you have some problem, if you want to criticize me, it's normal, but show your face and tell me I don't like you because of this. No problem at all.
Come at the king, you best not miss. But with
Cucurella, let me say that with Cucurella, I received a lot of hate on social media for 24 hours. They destroyed me, but some journalists around, some jealous people started to say, okay, finally it's over for Fabrizio. From here we go to here we nothing and this kind of thing. And then they disappeared 24 hours later. So for me, Cucurella was a very good one.
So I also saw recently the Telegraph, Dutch papers, they said that, you know, Fab steals from blah, blah, blah. And I saw you replied to that one as well. So what was that one all about? Because it said that you were stealing from another journalist or something like that. Is there, like, in the journalist kind of world, tell me, is there like a little bit of rivalries going on between you, Ornstein, and all these guys?
I want to be honest with you. David Ornstein, in my opinion, is the best journalist in the world and a fantastic guy. And I have a lot of respect for him. We are great friends. And David, but as many others. In Spain, I have really many friends in journalism, fantastic guys. Same here in Italy, in Germany with the Bild journalists, in France, everywhere. I have no problem. But really, trust me, I respect them. I don't feel any rivalry. I think journalism is not a race. If you feel transfers as a race, you have a problem, I think. You're not going to enjoy your work because you're always under pressure. And I don't like to be under pressure. I like to be under positive pressure, not with something negative around me. Otherwise, in 2-3 years, you are done. You can't be under pressure 20 hours per day, every single day of your life. So it's impossible. But at the same point, with the Telegraph, they decided to attack me in a way that I really didn't like, because it was kind of private way, speaking Dutch on their own podcast without inviting me, without consulting me, or maybe asking me why you are doing this or that. But they just did it on their podcast. And then I called them in private. I told them, if I have a problem with someone, I call and I try to explain my reasons, and then we have a discussion. So if you want, invite me to your podcast. I'm going to be a gentleman. Invite me and let's discuss. Let's bring some of my contacts, because they say I have no contacts. Let's do it. But I will also be asking why you didn't mention me on Malasia to Man United. It was the first signing of Erik ten Hag, Dutch player, on all the Dutch newspapers. No one mentioned me, or many others. Antony interview, they didn't even mention. So many other things. But I have no problem at all with any journalist. Just with them, they say that, but they are not inviting me to have a conversation. So
yeah, I mean, people seem to
forget.
Easy.
It's too easy, to go on your own podcast and say something. If you really think something and you think you're saying something right, invite me. Let's have a conversation, and let's see who's gonna who's gonna win.
We'll see who's a liar.
Exactly.
I mean, a lot of people seem to forget also that you're actually only 29. Is it 29 years? You're 29?
Yes.
29 years old. So I'm always, giving your props because, I mean, to be that age and doing what you're doing is incredible. For the future, for this deadline day, are you expecting any big moves? Is there anything that maybe we should look out for? Could it be one of the most exciting deadline days in recent history?
Yes, I think, let's see, because there are many clubs still busy on the market, important clubs. We mentioned Tottenham, Arsenal, Chelsea, maybe Man United. Let's see what happens with Ronaldo. Barcelona are always busy on deadline day. So I think it will be a nice one. I don't know if exactly a deadline day or maybe the day before, but for sure things will happen. I'm sure it will be an exciting one.
Talk to me about that Cristiano Ronaldo. You just touched on it just very briefly. What is going on there? It feels like he's been offered to the whole of Europe and there's teams don't want him. No, they come and deny that they wanted him or ever were speaking with him. What is actually going on there? There was the Chelsea links. There's Napoli now. Is there any truth to this? Because Ronaldo is still sitting on this interview that he's going to expose all the liars. So, but Fab, you got your sources. What's the truth?
The truth is that Jorge Mendes is trying to find a solution since long time and still in these final days of the window to try to find the last minute move. But it's not easy to find a club at the level of Cristiano Ronaldo. There are a lot of lies around Cristiano. A lot of lies saying that Cristiano is not training well, is creating problems in training. This is absolutely not true. I'm sure of what I'm saying. Cristiano is training at the best level. He's being an incredible professional, even if he's not starting for Man United in the last few games. So he's waiting, but Jorge Mendes is on it. He's trying to find a solution, but really, it's complicated to find a Champions League club at top level ready to sign Cristiano with his wages and with few days on the transfer window. So let's see, but at the moment, it's still an open situation.
So every time we have a guest onto this show, you're the first guest, but we are going to be doing something called a 5-a-side. And that's basically where I ask you 5 quick fire questions that I would like you to answer. Are you ready?
Ready.
First one, when was the moment you realized you've made it? Because I don't want to humble. I haven't made it yet. You've made it.
No.
When was that moment?
When I called Zinedine Zidane fired by Real Madrid. So Zinedine Zidane decided to leave Real Madrid and to try a new experience. So that was incredible for me because this was Zidane and Real Madrid, two of the biggest names in football ever. So for me, it was incredible. At that point, I said, "Wow, it's big."
And who is a player you believe deserves a big club move?
There are many players.
You said that you saw Antony at Sao Paulo. Is there somebody else that's kind of you've got your eye on and that's going to be in the future?
Mateus França, Brazilian talent from Flamengo. I think it will be the next big thing from South America to European football.
I know everyone's going to be getting on their FM Football Manager like, oh, who's this guy?
Yes.
Next one is, do players ever contact, you mentioned Antony, but do players ever contact you to put out stories to maybe influence the market? Like, is there anyone else that's done that before?
No, honestly, no. This is something that I don't like to influence the market, honestly. It's not my mission, also because I'm receiving nothing with this. For me, if I influence or not, makes no difference. For me, the important is always to mention real things and to be accurate. That's what is important.
Nice. And what is next in the future for yourself? How do you remain relevant throughout the season when it's not transfer, when it's not transfer window?
But there is always transfer window. This is the secret. With new contracts, with players in the final year of the contract, already exploring some moves, with important contract renewals to be discussed, with Champions League football, where we can see how the players are developing. So for me, it's always the same, of course, with different kind of pressure and different kind of energy, but it's always open, the transfer market. So, for example, this year there will be the World Cup with many of the top clubs exploring some moves. So it's always busy.
Cool. And lastly, we're going to create a 5-a-side team of your favorite here we go moments. So let's start. We'll start where you want. What was your favorite here we go moment? My favorite,
Cucurella.
Cucurella? Oh, because you like to clap back. You're like me. You're petty like me.
Yes, that's great. That was great, Cucurella.
No, we'll put Cucurella in defense. Let's go up top, because I think was Cristiano Ronaldo's to United your most retweeted?
That was incredible, but I would mention Erling Haaland to Man City.
Really?
Honestly, yes, more than Ronaldo. Yes, because Ronaldo is history,
Hey!
but Erling Haaland is the new generation, and I love him. So I want to mention Haaland.
Haaland, okay, that's the one for the new gen. All right, let's go in. That's two names. Let's go in midfield. Who would you
Midfield Bruno
put?
Fernandes to Manchester United.
Bruno.
That was incredible for me. It changed my life. That here we go. So yes.
Can you go into that? Or how did that one?
Because I still remember when I shared the pic of Bruno in the plane with his agent. That was crazy. People were going crazy. So that was fantastic.
Nice. We're not gonna do no goalkeepers. We don't care about that. No goalkeepers. So we've got two more spaces. I'll leave those two for you. Two of your other favorite. Here we go. Announcements.
Good one. Lewandowski to Barcelona, I would say. It was fantastic this summer for me to call this transfer because the feeling was amazing by Barcelona fans, and they deserved to have that kind of feeling, I think. And then I want to include an historical one for me, Mauro Icardi to Inter, because it changed my life really. This is when I decided to be a journalist, a transfer journalist. It was my first important news here in Italy. It was not international, but was here in Italy, and was the main transfer for me. It was something that changed my life. So Mauro Icardi is always in my favorite Here We Goes.
Nice. Fab, we really appreciate you coming on. It's been great talking with you. I'm definitely looking forward to what announcements that you've got coming up in the next few days. 'Cause I know you're sitting on another bomb. I know you are. So super looking forward to that. Again, thank you for coming on, and hopefully we can speak again.
Thank you. It was a super pleasure. Thank you for the interview, and see you soon. Enjoy the final days of the week.
See you later. Bruh, he gave us some sound bites, man. Listen, this is what this show is all about. I ask the real questions, no generic ones. I want to know the truths, and he really gave that to us. So shout out Fabrizio for that one. Let's move on to Creme de la Prem. This is the part of the show where I talk about the finest moments that happened during the week in the Premier League. Now that could be moments, it could be goals, it could be kits, it could be players, whatever it is, I'm gonna talk about it. And there's no better place for me to start this week than Erling Haaland. The man of the moment, hat trick. I mean, we're running out of words for him already. The guy is an absolute machine. And people call him a robot, I call him an android. This guy is wired differently. I mean, we've seen him do it in Austria. We've seen him do it in the Bundesliga. He had that kind of, can he do it against a low block? We are talking about a generational goal scorer. It is pure facts. I mean, you look at his numbers. He scored 86 goals in 89 games for Dortmund. He scored 29 goals in 27 for Red Bull Salzburg. I mean, that's better than goal a game. The guy is ridiculous. And right now already, he has 6 goals in 4 games for Man City. I mean, what is anyone supposed to do with a player like that? I saw on City Extra, they said chairmans are speaking with each other already around the Premier League about how do we stop Haaland. Like, guys are passing off notes on how to stop this generational player. I mean, I've never heard of anything like that happen in Premier League. That's what you hear literally in basketball. You hear that stuff. The GM, the anonymous GM has said this and that. You don't really get that in the Premier League. And that just shows the attention that is going to be needed for this type of player. 13 hat tricks. Remind me, I think the guy's 22. He's not even 23 years old yet. We are talking about a special player. And I remember when there used to be discussions about Haaland or Mbappe. Is that going to be the new Cristiano Ronaldo versus Messi? A little bit of an ugly version, I'll be honest, because Ronaldo and Messi are beautiful footballers. You know what I mean? Haaland and Mbappe is a bit kick and run and that. You know, I like him. He's a bit kick and run. Haaland's a little bit, you know, he gets 8 touches a game, but he'll score 3 goals. So that's not very box office, I'll say. But if we're talking about 2 of the generational talents of this era, I mean, it would be Erling Haaland and it would be Mbappe. So I'm going to set a challenge for Haaland. I'm going to set a challenge for him. 6 goals in 4 games already. Can he? There's a record that goes around in the Premier League at the moment, a debut season record, but that's not my challenge yet. The debut season record is 24 goals by Fernando Torres. First time coming into the league, he scored 24 goals, and Van Nistelrooy is second joint with Kun Aguero, joint 23. But I'm moving past that. That's how much I rate Haaland. I don't even want to talk about Torres. I don't want to talk about Van Nistelrooy. I don't want to talk about Aguero. I want to talk about the standing record at the moment. Mo Salah, 32 Premier League goals he has, which is a record. Can Erling Haaland break that this season? That's my challenge for him. I want to see him break that, because if you go, as I just mentioned, his stats, 86 in 89 for Dortmund, 29 in 27 for Salzburg, 6 in 4 already. If we're going by just his career trajectory and just the median of his career, Haaland should be getting me about 34, 35 Premier League goals this season. He should be breaking it. Injuries permitted, of course, injury-free. Everyone's talking about Pep Guardiola's rotation. I'm telling you, Megamind, he's a Megamind, right? But if he will not bench Erling Haaland, he knows with this type of player, this is the type of guy that gets you Champions Leagues. This is the type of guy that gets you Premier Leagues. You don't bench someone like that unless they ask to be benched. Like, yeah, you can do that with the teacher's pets like Phil Foden and KDB and that. But with Haaland, who wants to set records, who wants to be known, who wants to be a future Ballon d'Or player, you don't bench them. Imagine telling Cristiano Ronaldo, hey, you know what? I'm gonna rest you today. I mean, maybe 37-year-old Cristiano Ronaldo, but maybe CR37, but not CR7. You know what I mean? You would have never told him in his prime you're gonna sit him. And I think that's the same thing with Haaland. And as I said, 32 Premier League goals is the mark. The challenge is set to you, Haaland. Do not let me down. Well, I mean, you can let me down because I'm a United fan, so you can let me down as much as you want. But the challenge is set. Well, that was the first episode of FTBL Culture. Listen, I gave you my view. I gave you an interview with Fabrizio Romano. I told you about Erling Haaland, how he's coming for the top spot. What more do you want? Guys, what I need you to do is make sure you like, make sure you share, make sure you subscribe, because we are gonna have so much good content coming this season. I can't wait for you guys to see who I've got next. Listen, I got people up my sleeve. I'm telling you that now. It's been a pleasure. Can't wait for episode 2. See you there.